The sound wasn't an alarm. It was a single metallic click, almost lost in the prison's ambient hum. It was the sound of a key turning in a lock that should never have been opened. In the D block of Alcatraz, the infamous treatment unit for the most dangerous men in America, a young guard was making his rounds, his footsteps echoing with monotonous security. He was suddenly grabbed from behind, an arm like a steel vise around his neck, a sharpened spoon pressed to his throat. His keys were snatched from his belt. The inmate, a cunning bank robber named Bernie Coy, smiled, his eyes glinting with a cold, triumphant fire that had been smoldering for 2 long years. "The rock is ours," he whispered. For the next 48 hours, America's most secure, escape-proof prison would become a bloody, smoke-filled battleground, a testament to a desperate bid for freedom. The guards would become the hostages, the inmates would become the wardens, and the world would watch in horror as the legend of Alcatraz's invincibility was drowned in blood. This was the Battle of Alcatraz, a story of desperate courage, brutal violence, and a single, fatal flaw in a supposedly perfect system. Alcatraz in 1946 was more than a prison. It was a symbol of absolute control. But Bernie Coy, a man with a quiet demeanor and a brilliant, methodical mind, had found a weakness. He had spent 2 painstaking years on janitorial duty, his mop and bucket granting him unprecedented access to every corner of the main cell. He wasn't cleaning. He was studying. He was a predator, learning the anatomy of its prey, committing every pipe, every wire, every shadow to memory. He discovered a critical design flaw. The gun gallery, a high cage-like walkway where armed guards patrolled, had bars that were theoretically spreadable. The prison authorities had deemed them secure, believing the 9-inch gap was too small for any man to fit through. They had underestimated the power of human desperation. Coy, a man who had intentionally starved himself for months, losing pounds of weight until he was a gaunt specter, believed he could squeeze through. His plan was a masterpiece of criminal engineering. It was audacious, complex, and deadly. A silent conspiracy, taking root in the heart of the world's most secure prison. He recruited a small, hand-picked crew of the most dangerous and desperate men in D-Block, Marvin Hubbard, a tough kidnapper, Joseph Kretzer and Sam Shuckley, 2 volatile, dangerous men with nothing to lose, and Miran Buddy Thompson, another bank robber. Their plan had 3 phases. Phase 1, a silent, vertical takeover of the gun gallery. Phase 2, seize the main arsenal and control of the cell. Phase 3, get the key to the main recreation yard door. From there, they would go to the dock and steal the prison's launch boat at 2:15 p.m., a time they knew it would be waiting. It was a plan that relied on split-second timing and absolute, unbreakable secrecy. For months, they worked under the ever-watchful eyes of the guards. Coy designed a special tool, a bar spreader, using a nut, a bolt, and a metal sleeve, all stolen piece by piece from the prison workshop. It was a simple, ingenious device that could be turned with a small, smuggled wrench to slowly, silently, and powerfully bend solid steel. The day of the attempt was May 2nd, 1946. The prison was following its monotonous, predictable routine, a machine of perfect, soul-crushing order. Coy initiated the plan. He created a diversion, deliberately getting himself sent back to his cell for a minor infraction, a calculated move in his deadly chess game. From there, he climbed to the top tier of D-Block directly beneath the gun gallery. Hiding in a blind spot he had identified months ago, he applied his homemade bar spreader to the bars of the gun gallery floor. For 20 agonizing minutes that felt like a lifetime, he turned the wrench. The metal groaning in protest, a sound lost in the prison's ambient noise. The gap widened, inch by agonizing inch. He then stripped off his clothes, covered his emaciated body in grease, and began to squeeze through the impossibly small opening. It was a torturous, bone-grinding maneuver, his skin tearing against the rough steel, but he forced his body through the gap. He crept along the catwalk to the unsuspecting guard, a man named Bert Miller, overpowering him from behind. He now had a Springfield rifle, a .45 automatic ammunition, and the keys to the West Gun Gallery. Phase 1 was complete. The heart of the prison security was now in the hands of its most dangerous inmates. He lowered the rifle and keys on a string to his co-conspirators below, who had been waiting with breathless anticipation. The inmates, now armed, began their silent, terrifying takeover of the cell. They used the God's keys to release the other members of their crew from their cells, their movements a well-rehearsed. ghostly ballet. They moved with chilling efficiency, capturing the guards one by one as they made their rounds, luring them into traps and overpowering them before they could raise an alarm. They forced their 9 captured guards into 2 empty cells in C Block, turning the cages on their captors. Within Hanar, they had 9 hostages. The main cell house was theirs. The illusion of Alcatraz's absolute control was shattered, but their perfect plan, so brilliantly executed, hit a single, fatal snag, the final, crucial key. The one that opened the main recreation yard door to the outside world was not on any of the guards' key rings. The yard door guard, a man named William Miller, following a strict, unbending protocol, had kept that single key, refusing to surrender it during the takeover. In a moment of incredible foresight, he had passed it back out through the bars to another guard before being captured. The inmates were trapped. They controlled the cell house, a kingdom of concrete and steel, but they had no way to get out of the building. Their perfect plan had been defeated by one man's simple, stubborn adherence to the rules. The mood in the cell house shifted instantly from triumphant to desperate. Panic began to set in. The window for their escape was closing. Joseph Krechizer, the most unstable and violent of the group, realized their grand escape had failed. His mind, already on a knife's edge, snapped. "No witnesses!" he growled. "A promise of blood." He raised the rifle, aimed it into the cell, holding the captured, helpless guards, and opened fire. The cell erupted into a scene of chaos and carnage. The bullets ricocheted off the steel bars and concrete walls. One guard, Bill Miller, the man who had hidden the key, was killed instantly. Several others were severely wounded. The Battle of Alcatraz had begun. The sharp crack of gunfire, a sound unheard on Alcatraz for years, alerted the rest of the prison. The wardens sounded the general alarm, its mournful wail echoing across the bay. Within the hour, the unthinkable happened. The U.S. Marines were called in to retake America's most famous prison. Alcatraz was under siege, not from the outside, but from within. For the next 2 days, the island became a war zone. A brutal and bloody conflict fought in the narrow confines of the cell. The Marines laid siege, firing mortars, grenades, and thousands of rounds of ammunition into the concrete building, hoping to break the inmates' resolve. The inmates, outnumbered and outgunned, but now fighting for their lives, fought back with a desperate, cornered ferocity. The cell house became a smoke-filled, deafening hell of ricocheting bullets, explosions, and the screams of wounded men on both sides. The authorities tried to drill holes in the roof to drop grenades directly on the armed inmates' positions. They pumped in tear gas, but the inmates simply retreated to the lower tiers, using the prison's own labyrinthine design against the attackers. The battle was a bloody, brutal stalemate. The inmates would not surrender, and the Marines could not advance without sustaining heavy casualties. Finally, on the morning of May 4th, after 48 hours of unrelenting warfare, the Marines made a final, coordinated assault. They stormed the cell house, moving block by block, their submachine guns tearing through the darkness. The noise they found the bodies of the 3 main conspirators, Coy, Kretzer, and Hubbard, in a utility corridor. They had chosen to die fighting rather than face the consequences of their failed rebellion. Sam Shockley and Buddy Thompson, the remaining leaders, finally surrendered, their hopeless, bloody rebellion crushed. The Battle of Alcatraz was over. In the end, 2 guards and 3 inmates were dead. More than a dozen men were wounded, some critically. The prison, once a pristine symbol of impenetrable order, was a smoking, blood-stained ruin, its myth of invincibility shattered forever. Shockley and Thompson were later tried and executed in the gas chamber for their role in the murderous mutiny. The escape had failed, but it had sent a shockwave through the American penal system. It was a bloody, tragic testament to the fact that when men with nothing to lose are pushed to the brink, they will fight back with a ferocity that no wall can contain. The story serves as a chilling reminder that the most secure prisons can become the most dangerous places on earth when control is lost, even for a single, fatal moment. If this incredible true story of the Battle of Alcatraz held you captive, please show your support by hitting that like button. Subscribe and ring the notification bell for more true stories of history's most dramatic prison standoffs. Now, we have a question for you. In a desperate no-win situation, is it better to surrender and live, or to fight to the end for a cause you know is lost? Let us know your difficult choice in the comments below. Thank you for watching.